Hey, what's happening? Kevin Yates here, Neuro Minimalist Muscle Building, and just wanted to share the assess, reassessed model, assess, reassess model to help get better results faster and getting results that last. And I wanted to share this because, what happens is a lot of times, we're kind of taught, don't expect overnight success when it comes to achieving your fitness goals. So whether you're trying to increase your strength, build muscle, lose weight, decrease body fat, improve your performance, or decrease or get out of pain, it's like we're having to wait weeks or months at a time and do like exercises and stretches and and all these things, and then after weeks or months go by, then we start to see the results, hopefully, if what we're doing is working. And then that way we could determine, what to do next. The only thing is, like, over the years as I was looking at that, I thought, well, what happens if we get results, that's great. But what happens if we don't? Because I went through that a lot. And it was like, it's very frustrating when you invest all that time and energy and effort into something that isn't working. So what I learned was a way to figure that out without having to wait weeks and months at a time. And in fact, we can actually know if the exercises and the things that we're doing in our own training and workouts are working, and we can know that right on the spot as we're doing them. So that's what I wanted to share, is how to use this assess, reassess model so that you can know if the exercises and the training that you're doing is helping you achieve your goal or not. And if it's not, then you don't have to waste weeks and months at a time to figure that out. You can know it on the spot and then make changes. So basically what we want to do is, so it's assess, reassess. So what we're going to do is we're doing 3 steps. We are doing exactly what it says. We're going to take a movement or an exercise. We're going to assess it. Then we're going to do an activation drill for the brain and nervous system, and then we're going to reassess it. So why are we doing an activation drill for the brain and nervous system instead of doing an exercise, like a corrective exercise or a stretch or a strengthening exercise for the muscles? Because that would make more sense, right? If something's not working right, we should do one of those things. We should strengthen it or stretch it. At least that's what we're taught. And I kind of went through that thought process too. That's what, as a trainer, and I've been doing this for about 24 years now, that's what we're taught to do, right? That's what we're taught to do in rehabilitation as well. If you have pain, you work on the muscles that are in pain, or you strengthen the muscles around the joint or the area that's in pain, and you strengthen it, or you stretch it if muscles are tight, or correcting muscle imbalances. It's all about muscles and joints and working at the level of the body, which is great. The only problem with that is that it takes a lot longer to see results if you get the results. So like I said, if what you're doing isn't working, it's going to take a long time to figure that out, weeks or months in most cases. Another thing is that it takes a lot more work in order to see results. You've got to do a lot of it, of what you're doing, stretching and strengthening. You got to do it a lot more often. So there's a lot of work that's involved with it. And then the results that you do get, they don't really stick for very long. Like, they don't last very long. So it's kind of like you have to keep doing the thing over and over and over, like on and on and on, basically for forever, to maintain the results you've got. So whereas when we look at the assess, reassess model that I'm doing in Neuro Minimalist Muscle Building, we work at the level of the brain and the nervous system. And so what happens is that because we're working at a higher level, the brain and nervous system are what actually control strength and muscle and movements and pain, right? So these are kind of the command center for the body. And so what happens is, because we're working at that level, changes in the nervous system happen on the spot. So if we do an activation drill for an area of the brain and for the nervous system, we're going to see that effect happen right away. We're going to know if the brain and nervous system like it or if they don't like it. So something is going to either improve, it's going to get worse, or it won't change at all. But either way, we're going to know if that activation drill worked or not. So what we're going to do is we pick a movement. So basically we want to make sure we've got a movement that aligns with your goal. So what is your goal? Is it to increase strength and build muscle? Okay, well, we've got to pick a movement that maybe there's a lift that you want to add more weight to, or maybe there's an area of your body you want to add more muscle to. So there's got to be a certain exercise or movement in there that ties into that kind of area and that goal. So that's our body composition goals. If you have a performance type goal, same thing. You got to have some kind of a movement. So whether it's running, whether it's some kind of a jump, whether it might even just be like an activity. You know, I've had clients in the past who, you know, they'd work for a couple hours in their yard, like digging dirt with a shovel and moving things around, and would have like such bad lower back pain. So, you know, we would use one of those movements, such as like digging a shovel in the dirt, and that would be the movement that we'd assess for performance. So again, pick something that ties into your goal. Are you trying to run faster, jump higher, just be more quick and agile, improve overall athleticism? What is it you're trying to do? And then finally, there's a category of pain. So sometimes we just have pain that we want to get out of, especially when nothing that we're doing is working. If we're doing exercising and stretching, taking pain medications, trying ice and heat, you know, cortisone shots and all these things, and nothing's working, then what it is, the thing that we would use for an assessment, I always say, is like, what is the thing that you can't do? Right? What movement or activity are you having trouble with, or what is it that's causing you pain? What specific movement or activity is it that's doing that? And so that's what we use as the assessment. So pick one thing, one exercise, movement, activity that ties into your goal, and use that for your assessment. So then what we do is we do that movement. So for example, if my goal was to increase my strength on my squat, then what I would do is I would test, you know, my strength on my squat. So I'd put it into a repetition range. Let me squat the most weight that I can for 3 to 5 reps and see what I can kind of max out at. So that's what I do. I work myself up, get up to the maximum weight I could do for 3 to 5 reps. And then what I'm looking at is I want to keep that weight on the bar, and I want to remember the weight or the reps that I did. Did I do 3, 4, or 5 repetitions? And then I'm going to do my activation drill. So the activation drills that we pick, they really could be anything. Now, you could try an exercise, a corrective exercise, a strengthening exercise, or a stretch. You could do that, and then you can go back and reassess and see if it works. The only thing, like I said, is that a lot of times it's kind of like this gray area where we might not get a positive change, we might not get a negative change. Doesn't mean it makes things worse. We might not notice anything happening. So it's kind of like hit or miss whether or not it's going to work. You could keep doing that and then wait and see if it's going to work. And that's a lot of times what happens. We have to do things, wait and see if they work. So what I do is I will put in an activation drill, typically for what we call our proprioception type drill, where we're just feeding input into the brain and nervous system by increasing the activation or the input that we get from our sensory system about our body position and where we are in free space. So we can do that. Sometimes though, we might need activation of our vestibular system. That's just basically our brain's way of understanding, or I should say the communication system that communicates to the brain about our position relative to gravity, where we are, which way is up, where are we going, that type of thing. Or sometimes it's related to our visual system. Sometimes we can have issues of where our visual system isn't all as clear as it needs to be. So the input is kind of something's inhibited or not working right there. So these are just a few things. There's other areas, but I won't get into it because it'd take forever. So basically, work at that level. So for an example on the squat, like one of the things that I've had really good results with for me, and it's going to be different for everybody because not everybody's got the same issues. I've had vision issues where my vision's a little bit blurry from time to time during certain parts of the day. So I do a thing we call pencil push-ups. which is where I take the tip of a pen or a pencil and I just move it toward the bridge of my nose and I focus on it until it splits into two, and then I work on holding it there until I can make my vision make it like one, so I see one tip, and then I move it back, and I do that for a few repetitions. So I do that drill, I go back to doing my squat, same weight, and then I see, can I do more repetitions with that weight? And if I can do more repetitions, then I know my brain and nervous system definitely like that drill because it's immediately improved my strength on my squat. If I could do more reps, I've gotten a little bit stronger. Okay. So again, like I said, you can kind of use these drills for anything, but pick one movement, tie it into your goal, use an activation drill of some sort, whether it's a brain activation, nervous activation, system activation drill, an exercise or a stretch, whatever it is for you, and then reassess by going back to that same movement and assessing, can you do it a little bit better? Did something improve? Now, a word or a side note about improving strength or performance, even if we're looking at that, it doesn't only have to be doing more weight or more repetitions. So for example, if I use my squat for an example, I can look at my overall squat and I could see, like, when I squat down with that bar, maybe I do the same weight and the same reps. I didn't get any more. But what does my depth look like? So if before, maybe I could only squat to about parallel, right? Hips and knees level. But maybe after the assessment, I could squat a little bit deeper down. Maybe I go a half an inch or an inch further down. That would also signify an increase in strength because I'm going down, and as the further down in a squat you go, the weaker of a position your body is in. So if you're able to go further down, you've gained enough or increased your strength enough to be stable in a weaker position, right? Other things we could look at are the stability of a movement. So again, in my squatting example, when I squat down, are my knees caving in? Are my feet kind of caving in? Is my upper back at all rounding out a little bit? And when I reassess it after the drill, do those things clear up? Or do they improve at least a little bit better than they were, right? Or we could look at things like, like positioning, where on a squat, do my feet excessively turn out? Or do I go excessively wide for stability? And maybe my feet are more aligned in neutral, right? Or maybe my stance is a little more quote unquote normal, right? So these are all just different ways that we can look at how improvements happen using an assess, reassess model. That's basically the thing in there. And like I said, when we work at the level of the brain and the nervous system, the changes happen on the spot immediately. They take a lot less time and effort and energy. But the cool thing too is that the results that we get, after we reinforce it for a little bit, we don't have to keep doing the same drills over and over for the rest of our lives, because once the nervous system makes the adaptation, those results stick. So again, another kind of good case to use an assess, reassess model. And another reason why working at the level of the brain and the nervous system is that it really does hold the key to seeing the results and the changes that we want in our strength, muscle, weight loss, fat loss, or decreasing pain and improving performance. So I'm going to cut that off before the leaf blower in the backyard. These guys out here, always out here whenever I want to do a video. But I just wanted to share that with you and kind of give you something to work with so that you're not investing all this time, effort, and energy into doing things that aren't helping you achieve your fitness and performance goals faster. All right, so leave a comment below. Let me know what assessment you used and how it reassessed, what drill you used, and then the reassessment, how it went. Curious. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and I'll talk to you then.